Welcome, thank you for tuning in. My name is Stephen Milner. I'm a landscape photographer based in New Zealand, and today I'm in Lake Taupo to photograph this amazing tree you can see right behind me here. I was here about 2 weeks ago and doing some photography, and it was really windy, and when I got the photographs back home and got my film developed, what I found is that because of the wind the trees were all blurry. So I really wanted to come back and try and achieve this shot again, so I've come down here this weekend to try and do that. I brought my family with me this time, so we've had a little family weekend away, which has been really nice. I've really enjoyed that. So yeah, here I am in Lake Taupo again, trying to photograph the famous Lake Taupo tree, not to be confused with the Wanaka tree, but equally as good. Is the weather going to turn out for us? And are my skills going to pay up to my expectations? Let's find out. Okay, so I've just set up here and I've got a roll of Fuji Velvia 50 in my camera. It's a Mamiya 7, and my lens on the front here is a 150mm lens, which is the equivalent of 75mm in 35mm format. And on the front here I've got two filters. I've got a 3-stop natural density filter, and the purpose of that is to smooth out the water, and then I've got a 3-stop medium edge soft grad filter, and that's just to block out the highlights in the sky. And so yeah, I'm pretty much set up now. I'm currently at f22, and that's because my nearest point that I need to be in focus is around 8 meters away. So that means I've got to stop this lens down quite far. So yeah, it's going to be quite a compressed shot, so I'm hoping that it compresses the tree and the mountain in the far distance, and hopefully I get some foreground interest, which is the black sand that just runs up the beach, which should ideally lead the eye in from the bottom left of the image up through towards the tree. So I'm just waiting for the light to go down a bit now, and then I'm going to meter the scene with my Sekonic spot meter, and then that'll give me my first exposure time. So it's now just about waiting for the right light. Okay, so the light's starting to come down now quite nicely, and there's no clouds in the sky, but there's a bit of haze, and it's just catching a real soft kind of orangey colour. So I'm going to meter my scene now and do my first exposure. So I've programmed in to my light meter f22, so I'm going to meter the darkest scene that I want to retain detail in. So that's giving me 8 seconds, and then I'm going to meter the highlight, which will be the sky. That's giving me 2 seconds. So you average it out, and then with this light meter I'm able to go through and evaluate my scene. So I'm going to evaluate the shadows. So shadows are -2, which is okay. The foreground is 0, and the highlights are 1.7. So what that means is, because of my soft grad filter, I can compensate up by 1 stops and 2 stops. So I'm going to do 2 exposures. I'm going to do 1 stop above what the meter says, and I'm going to do another one at 2 stops above. So programming it in my meter, I add an extra 3 stops on for my natural density filter, and then another stop to increase the exposure, and that's giving me 30 seconds for f22. And then calculating for reciprocity, that's 1 minute 6 seconds. So I've got the stopwatch ready, and we're going to set off the first exposure, and away we go. And that's it, first exposure done. just reset the stopwatch. And then now I'm going to meter the scene again just to make sure that it's still within what I want it to be. So again, the shadows, 8 seconds, highlights, 1 second, so the highlights have come down a bit now. So that's giving me 2 seconds. Exposure compensation is giving me 30 seconds. So this time I'm going to go up another stop. So that puts it up at a minute. So with reciprocity, that's a 2 minute 30 second exposure. So we'll do that now. And away we go. So once this one's done, I'm going to move on to another composition, and I'm going to change my lens to a 50mm lens, which is a 25mm equivalent, and I'm going to get a bit more of a wide angle shot, which I think will be okay. What will actually happen is the tree and the mountain will become smaller and the foreground will become more significant in the image. So we'll just have to see how that goes. As you can see, I've got my son within, he's playing around in the background, throwing stones in the water. It's quite a unique little beach here. A lot of the stone here is actually a pumice stone, so that's quite nice, something a bit different. And that's it, 2 minute 30 seconds done. So I'm going to change my location and then I'm going to change my lens, and I'm going to do that quite quickly because the light's really good now.
Did you see the smack goes? That one just went for a spin. Look, this one can go for a spin.
Okay, so we've just moved. I've got my new lens on, my 50mm. I'm currently at f11 and my nearest focus point is 2 meters away, so that gives me enough range. So I'm just going to quickly meter the scene on f11. So again, darkest area, then the highlights. So the light's really coming down now, the dynamic range of the scenes within 3 stops, which is really good for Fuji Velvia 50. So average that out, it's giving me 1 second. I'm just going to quickly put the filter on the front. So we'll do exactly the same as before. We'll do 2 shots, 1 shot at 1+1 exposure compensation, then another one at +2. So it's currently about 15 seconds. I'm just gonna meter the scene again because that doesn't seem right. So we'll go again. Darkest area is 4 seconds. Lightest area is half a second. Do that, 2 seconds. Evaluating the scene, my shadows are at -1.5, so that's okay, I'm going to bring it up. Highlights are 1, so there's definitely more space there to get up. So we'll go 3 stops with an natural density filter, then +1 stop. This gives me 30 seconds. So that's 1 minute 6 seconds with reciprocity. Not too sure what happened there. A little bit of an error, so we'll go again. One minute 6 seconds. Unfortunately, I've just wasted the film. Something didn't seem right then in the camera, but it turns out it was okay. I guess that's just part of the challenge when you're using these old cameras. So we're starting to approach the blue hour now. The light's still really quite nice. Fujifilm usually really retains quite a lot of colour and detail when it gets to this time of day. And that's it for the first shot. I'm just going to meter the scene again quickly. So shadows, 8 seconds in memory. Highlights are at 1 second, so the dynamic range now of the scene is 2.5 stops. That's really good. Average it out. Shadows at -1. Highlights at +1. 30 seconds. 1 minute, 2 minute, 30 seconds. So we'll do a 2 minute, 30 second exposure. And that's it for the second shot. Now for good measure I'm going to do one more, and that's just the normal exposure. So still 8 seconds for the shadows. Two seconds for the highlights. So we're down to 2 stops of dynamic range now. So 4 seconds averaged out. Exposure compensation. We'll do it at three stops for exposure compensation, so that's kind of bang on exposure without any increase in the exposure. And that's at 30 seconds, so that's quite a quick one, so that'll be 1 minute 6 seconds for reciprocity. And away we go. And that's it, final shot done. So I think we've had the best of the light here now. I've done two compositions. The first one I did 2 exposures, and the second one I did 3 exposures. Unfortunately, due to probably my error, I actually wasted one of my shots, but it's not the end of the day. It's still been a worthwhile trip and a beautiful scene, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the images now. You want to come and say hello to the camera, Eddie? So this is my son. He's come out doing photos with me. He's been playing on the beach.
Hello.
Say hello. Say how are you?
How are you?
What's your name?
What's your name?
What's your name?
Eddie.
Eddie, that's it. Oh, what did you do to your face?
I heard that was crying.
Oh dear. You're a big brave boy, aren't you?
Yep.
You're going to say bye-bye.
Bye.
See you soon.
See you soon. Who was on there?
It's all the friends. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've learnt a few things. It's been really great to be able to come here today with my family and get my camera out and do some photos. And I really do hope that I've done this scene justice, because it is really beautiful. But you never know, with film I'll send it off to the lab and hopefully I'll get my colour transparencies back next week and everything will be revealed, and hopefully I've done it justice. I'm really looking forward to seeing those. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and if you want to support me, the best way to do that right now is to subscribe to my channel and also check out my Instagram and Facebook page. I'd really appreciate if you would leave a comment in the section below. That would be really awesome, and hit the notification bell. And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Bye for now. Take care. See you soon.